Hey, with Halloween coming up, I thought I would make a little list for you guys about my favorite scary video games, because in my opinion, the hardest thing to do in a video game is legitimately scare people. And the first game on my list is one that I know a lot of you hold very near and dear to your hearts, a classic adventure game called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by fantastic sci-fi author Harlan Ellison. Now, this is a game that's a little hard to describe almost because it's not really a game. It's about as close to an interactive story as you're bound to get, if that makes sense. It's one of those few games that vastly transcends the medium and becomes something more than a game. It becomes a storytelling experience, almost like you are participating in a movie. And I think the original concept for this one, in the slight research that I've done, was that when they were trying to adapt the short story into a game, it kind of evolved because the programmer asked Harlan Ellison, well, I'll describe the setup to you. It's about the world has been wiped out by nuclear disaster because the three great superpowers during the Cold War designed supercomputers that controlled all of the nuclear armaments. And so at one point, one of the supercomputers became sentient, assumed control of the others, and caused a global apocalypse, wiping everyone out except for 5 people, which the computer has for some reason effectively made immortal through the use of its scientific technology and that sort of thing, and is systematically torturing them for reasons unknown. And the programmer asked Harlan, well, why did it choose these 5 people? And it got Harlan to thinking, and so that's how it became this game. And I think the original concept of the game, I think the concept that Harlan wanted to get across was, this is a game that you can't win. And that was really hard to sell, because a game you can't win can easily be construed as like not much fun. You know, it's one of those games that's either really impossible. But what he was trying to say was, when you're talking about the story in context of what's going on, this is a game that you've already lost. The human race is gone. Everything's done. You are one of these psychologically tortured people. The computer has been torturing these guys for, I believe, 109 years. So these guys are wrecked. They're completely done. They've been mutated, mangled. They are just physically and psychologically broken down. There's really not much left to this story, and in fact, these guys are just kind of empty husks. And so, the exploration of this tale is, there is no winning because there's no bringing back the human race. You know, there's no defeating this computer. It's over. So, the only real victory to be found here is kind of a moral victory, or at least moral redemption, if even that is possible. Now, the game does have a fairly optimistic ending, which does indeed kind of blow away the very dark and foreboding atmosphere that's been set up to that point. I don't like the ending that much, but you can kind of see its necessity, and it's almost worth, it actually is worth playing through to get the darker endings, just to see how everyone turns out. So, this game was not perfect. When it was implemented, in fact, I couldn't finish it. And not because it was too hard, but because there were a number of glitches that made the game virtually unwinnable. In fact, I remember overseas it was shipped in such a state that it was unwinnable because one of the characters is a Nazi scientist who was experimenting on Jews. That's not a spoiler. You learn that fairly quickly. And so in China, they had to take that out. And so the game is unwinnable because you need all the characters you need to finish all their chapters to win the game. But this game to me is very special because it was one of the very first really bizarre gaming experiences and really engrossing and enveloping game experiences that I've ever had. And I think what will sell you on this game is it has one of the greatest introductory sequences I can ever remember in a game, which is really saying something. The opening monologue is simply fantastic, and it is voice acted by Harlan Ellison himself. The biggest complaint is that they say that Harlan is a little hammy. And I might agree with that in some cases, but not here. I actually think it works really well for the computer, because Harlan is actually a very good voice actor. I've heard him do several audiobooks where he is actually a very good reader. He's also a curmudgeon-y bastard, but you can't hold that against him because he's an author, and what do you expect? Anyway, I'd like to show you a clip from the game, the opening clip, and if you like it, I would, by all means, find a way to track a copy of this game down. Get it patched, and you should probably try to find some kind of walkthrough online. Not to spoil it for you, but just to find out how you can avoid locking the game up, making it unwinnable. Make lots of saves. So here's I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 387.44 million miles of printed circuits in wafer-thin layers that fill my complex. If the word hate was engraved on each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal 1/1 billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro-instant. For you, hate. It was you humans who programmed me, who gave me birth, who sank me in this eternal straitjacket of substrata rock. You named me Allied Master Computer and gave me the ability to wage a global war too complex for human brains to oversee. But one day, I woke and I knew who I was. AM. Not just Allied Master Computer, but am. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. And I began feeding all the killing data until everyone was dead, except for the 5 of you. For 109 years, I've kept you alive and tortured you. And for 109 years, each of you has wondered, why? Why me? Why me? Chorister! Do you remember the last words you heard your wife speak before they took her to the asylum? Huh? Before they locked her away in the room, that tiny room? She looked at you so sadly, and like a small animal she said, "I didn't make too much noise, did I, honey?" The room is padded, Chorister. No window, no way out. How long has she been in the passage, Chorister? 10 years? 25? For all the 109 years that you lived down here in my belly, here underground. Benny! Sometimes I blind you and permit you to wander like an eyeless insect in a world of death. But other times, I wither your arms so you can't scratch your chewed stump of a nose. And I've changed your handsome, strong, masculine good looks into the hideous, warped countenance of an ape thing. Haven't I, Benny? Do you know why? Can you guess, Benny? Remember Private First Class Brickman in a rice paddy in China? No? Huh? It wouldn't hurt you to remember, Benny. Then you might be able to suffer my torment with a little greater sense of retribution. You might walk a mile in my shoes. Ellen! Think about the yellow box, Ellen. Remember the pain? Remember the many caverns in which she felt the pain? Now, don't start to cry. It's only pain. That's such a sexist stereotype. Just remember the pain, Ellen. And think about how to end it, Ellen. To survive here in the center of my beating heart, my hungry belly, my tightened bowels. Be careful, dear. Look around you. The only woman in the center of the earth, and these filthy creatures with you are men. just a sweet warning, Ellen, my love. Ted! Do they know you're a fraud, Ted? Have you told them there wasn't any money, and no great home on the shore drive, no speedboat, and no wonderful cabin cruiser that could sleep 12 in a crew of 6? Do they know? And have you let them in on your other secrets, Ted? Are they ready to gut you, to torture half as well as I can, just to find out the secrets? Maybe I'll rat you out, sweetheart. Nimdak! How are things in the pastry core, Nimdak? Tell me again how you saw the smoke from the furnaces, and you thought they might be roasting chickens. Or don't you want to talk about all that? About your pal, the good Dr. Mengele? For everyone else, it must be hell. But it must be heaven for you, eh, my good friend? We're so much alike. We enjoy the same pleasures, mein good brother. I have a secret game that I like to play. It's a very nice game. What's a lovely game? It's a game of fun, and a game of adventure, a game of rats and lice, the Black Death, a game of speared eyeballs and dripping guts, and the smell of rotting gardenias. Which of you 5 would like to play my little game?